Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka, Text 29. Ya Virya Shokena Hrita Swayamvare Pramatya Chaidya Pramukhan Hi Shushminaha Pradyumna Sambambo Sutadayo Para Yash Chahrita Baumavadhe Sahasrashaha Yavirya Shukena Hrita Swayamvare Pramatya Chaidya Prumakan Hi Sushminaha Pradyumna Sambamba Sutadayo Para Yaschahrita Bhamavade Sahasrashaha Yavirya Shulkena Hrita Swayamvare Pramatya Chaidya Pramukhan Hi Sushminaha Pradyumna Sambamba Sutadayo Para Yaschahrita Baumavade Sahasrashaha Yavirya Shulkena Hrita Swayamvare Pramatya Chaidya Pramukhan Hi Shushminaha Pradyumna Sambamba Sutadayo Para Yaschahrita Bhamavade Sahasrashaha Yavirya Shulkena Hrita Swayamvare Sahasrashaha Vaishnavis. Number 8. Matachaya Pranatana Krishna. Mandasaya Para. Charita Bama Vade Sahasrashaha. Yavirya Shukena. Satya Tvamaka Sushmina. Ya, the lady, Virya, prowess, Shokena, by the payment of the price, Hritaha, taken away by force, Swayamvare, in the open selection of the bridegroom, Pramatya, harassing, Chaitya, King Shishupal, Pramukhan, headed by, he, positively, Sushminaha, all very powerful, Pradyumna, Pradyumna, Krishna's son, Samba, Samba, Amba, Amba, Suta Adayaha, children, Aparaha, other ladies, Yaha, those, Cha, also, Ahritaha, similarly brought, Balmavadhe, after killing kings, Sahasrashaha, by the thousands. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. The children of these ladies are Pradyumna, Samba, Amba, etc. Ladies like Rukmini, Satyabhama, and Jambavati were forcibly taken away by him from their Swayamvara ceremonies after he defeated many powerful kings headed by Shishupal. And other ladies were also forcibly taken away by him after he killed Bhaumasura and thousands of his assistants. All of these ladies are glorious. Purport. Exceptionally qualified daughters of powerful kings were allowed to make a choice of their own bridegrooms in open competition, and such ceremonies were called Swayamvara, or selection of the bridegroom. Because the Swayamvara was an open competition between the rival and valiant princes, such princes were invited by the father of the princess, and usually there were regular fights between the invited princely order in a sporting spirit. But it so happened that sometimes the belligerent princes were killed in such marriage fighting, and the victorious prince was offered the trophy princess for whom so many princes died. Rukmini, the principal queen of Lord Krishna, was the daughter of the king of Vidarbha, who wished that his qualified and beautiful daughter be given away to Lord Krishna. But her eldest brother wanted her to be given away to King Shishupal, who happened to be a cousin of Krishna. So there was open competition, and as usual, Lord Krishna emerged successful after harassing Shishupal and other princes by his unrivaled prowess. Rukmini had 10 sons like Pradyumna. There were other queens also taken away by Lord Krishna in a similar way. Full description of this beautiful booty of Lord Krishna will be given in the 10th canto. There were 16,100 beautiful girls who were daughters of many kings and were forcibly stolen by Bhaumasura, who kept them captive for his carnal desire. These girls prayed piteously to Lord Krishna for their deliverance, and the merciful Lord, called by their fervent prayer, released them all by fighting and killing Bhaumasura. All these captive princesses were then accepted by the Lord as his wives, although in the estimation of society they were all fallen girls. The all-powerful Lord Krishna accepted the humble prayers of these girls and married them with the adoration of queens. So altogether, Lord Krishna had 16,108 queens at Dwarka, and in each of them he begot 10 children. All these children grew up, and each had as many children as the father. The aggregate of the family numbered in the millions. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Many times, we hear Srila Prabhupada say that the Srimad Bhagavatam should be studied from the very beginning. One shouldn't jump directly to the 10th canto. One should go through the various cantos, the first 9 cantos successively, because in that way one will be prepared to properly understand the contents of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam when one gets to it. But even so, we can see that even here in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, if we look at the verse yesterday and the verse today and the purports by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada is giving previews of these very advanced topics that are more fully described in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, yesterday's verse is talking about how these wives that Krishna accepted must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe to constantly relish the nectar from his lips by kissing. The damsels of Vrajabhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport of yesterday's verse talked about how everyone has their swarupa, their eternal spiritual form, in which they serve Lord Krishna in one of the 5 principal rasas or relationships. And in today's verse, we're learning about Krishna's relationships with his various wives. So even though in these first 9 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam we're meant to get preliminary information about the various topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam in order to prepare ourselves for properly understanding the 10th canto. We do get previews from in the Bhagavatam itself and in Srila Prabhupada's purports. So there are 10 topics that are explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's Sarga, which means the creation of the material elements by the Mahavishnu. And then there's the Visarga, the manifestation of the planets and the bodies of living things by Lord Brahma and his other demigod assistants. And there's Poshanam, how the Lord maintains the universe. There's Uttaya, the creative principle. Sthanam, the arrangement of the different planetary systems. All this information is given in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the conditioned souls have come to this material world to exploit the material resources. So they look at the universe, they look at the planet they're on, the body they're in, the bodies of others, the material resources that they see. Their tendency is to see these things as their property, meant for their enjoyment. But in the first cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the conditioned souls are instructed to see the universe as the universal form, the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're being taught to see everything as the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, the other topics in the Srimad Bhagavatam are uh, the Manvantars, the history of the controllers of the universe, Ishanu Kata, the accounts of the different incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As we go through the different cantos, we're going to encounter descriptions of Lord Matsya, Varaha, different incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead leading up to the appearance of Krishna. And then Nirodha, we're going to hear how not just how the universe is created, but how it's wound up, at the end of the days of Brahma and the lifetime of Brahma. And we'll hear about mukti, ultimate liberation, muktir hitvanyata rupam swarupena vivastati. Real liberation means becoming freed from all false conceptions of identity and becoming established in the Swarupa, the real self. And then ultimately, after all those 9 topics, there's Ashraya, which means the supreme shelter. And the supreme shelter is to be engaged in the eternal pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his Nitya Leela. So we're getting hints and previews of all of these things, even in the first cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In today's verse, it's mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in his purport about the practice of Swayamvara, how a princess was allowed to select her husband from among the many valiant princes, rival and valiant princes who came to win her hand. Sometimes I wonder if these practices are going to be reintroduced. Maybe I'll have a skateboard competition. So, different wives are mentioned. Rukmini is mentioned, and it's described in quite a bit of detail in the purport by Srila Prabhupada how she was kidnapped by Lord Krishna at her Swayamvara ceremony. The next queen that's mentioned is Satyabhama. All these queens are expansions of Radharani. There's Krishna, and he expands in his Narayan forms, and he expands in his form as Mahavishnu. He has so many expansions. So Radharani, his eternal consort, the personification of his pleasure potency, also expands herself. She expands as the goddesses of fortune, the Lakshmis, who accompany Lord Narayan in his forearm form. So she also expands herself as these goddesses of fortune who have their own forearm forms. and she expands herself as the gopis of Vrindavan, and also she expands herself as the different queens of Lord Krishna in Dwarka, who we're hearing about in today's verse. So this Satyabhama was the daughter of King Satyajit, and this King Satyajit, he was a devotee of the sun god Vivasvan, and he received from the sun god the Shamantaka jewel, which had the special quality of being able to produce large quantities of gold. So sometimes he would enter the city of Dwarka, this King Satyajit. He was a member of the dynasty, wearing this Shamantaka jewel, kind of displaying his opulence. And this often happens, that if someone gets some material opulence, they become a little proud of their position. Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya pritachetasam Vyavasayatmaka buddhir samadao na vidhiyate. If one has a lot of material opulence and is very attached to it, Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya pritachetasam, one's consciousness is absorbed in that attachment to one's material opulence, then the firm determination to perform bhakti yoga, devotional service, doesn't take place. One becomes distracted. So this King Satyajit was in that position. So Krishna, playing his role as a prince in the Yadu dynasty, suggested to him, you should give this jewel to the head of our dynasty, King Ugrasen. That would be the proper thing for you to do. Everything should be offered to the head of the dynasty. But he wouldn't do that. He refused to do that. But he would share the jewel with his own personal relatives. So once his brother Prasena took the jewel and went riding on a horse into the forest around the city of Dwarka, and when he was in the forest, he was attacked by a lion who killed his horse, killed him, and took the jewel into a cave. But unknown to this lion, the cave was the residence of Jambavan, who was living a long time. Actually, he had been an associate of Lord Ramachandra when Lord Ramachandra was taking the army of monkey soldiers, led by King Sugriva, the king of the monkey soldiers. He was a minister of King Sugriva, so he fought with Lord Ram and Hanuman and the monkey soldiers to rescue Sita, Lord Ram's consort, from the demon Ravana on the island of Lanka. So at that time, he was a devotee of Lord Ram. So he took possession of the jewel from the lion. He killed the lion, took the jewel, and gave it to one of his children. So, meanwhile, back in Dwarka, everyone, they found out about how Prasena, the brother of King Satyajit, had been killed and the jewel was missing. So Satyajit started spreading the rumor that Krishna, out of envy of him, had somehow or other killed his brother and stolen the jewel. So, in response to these rumors that were spreading around the city of Dwarka, just like sometimes rumors spread around New Dwarka, rumors and stories. The story going around the city of Dwarka was that Satyajit was saying that Krishna had killed his brother and stolen the Shamantaka jewel. So Krishna wasn't going to stand for that, so he went out. Of course, he knows everything, but he was playing like a detective. He found the dead body of Prasena, found the dead body of the horse, gradually found the location of the cave where the lion had been killed, and discovered that the jewel was in the possession of Jambavan. So Krishna demanded that Jambavan give him the jewel, but Jambavan, not recognizing who he was, refused. So there was a fight in the cave, and the fight lasted for 28 days. Jambavan was very powerful, but Krishna was even more powerful. And by the process of being defeated by Lord Krishna, being unable to conquer him, Jambavan gradually came to the understanding that this is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who I formerly associated with as Lord Ram. So he gave the jewel to Krishna, and not only did he give the jewel, the Shamantaka jewel, to Krishna, he gave his beautiful daughter Jambavati, and she's also mentioned in the verse today, Rukmini, Satyabhama, and Jambavati. So Krishna took the jewel back to Dwarka and he presented it to Satyajit. Of course, Satyajit was very embarrassed, because he had dared to accuse Krishna of having stolen the jewel and killing his brother. So he was trying to make amends. So he said, "No, I can't accept the jewel. I give it to you. And in addition, I present my daughter, Satyabhama, to you as your wife." Now, it wasn't exactly a Swayamvara ceremony, but the Srimad Bhagavatam mentions that many princes had desired the hand of Satyabhama. Many of the princes had desired to have her as their wife, but she went to Lord Krishna and became one of his principal queens. There was another wife of Lord Krishna, Satya. She was the daughter of a king named Nagnajit, and Krishna won her hand in a Swayamvara ceremony. The king, uh, Nagnajit, had arranged for a test that all the princes who desired to compete for the hand of his daughter Satya, they had to tame 7 very large, very powerful bulls, and none of them were able to do it, but Krishna was very easily able to tame these 7 bulls, and that way he prevailed in the Swayamvara ceremony and got Satya as his wife. So Krishna, in his pastimes, he behaves according to the position in which he takes. In Vrindavan, he plays as a cowherd boy. In Dwarka, he plays as a prince. In Vaikuntha, he exists as Lord Narayan. So Krishna behaves in his different Leela according to the different positions that he takes. So I'll stop there. Any questions or comments? Yes, Ananda Kir. Oh, Maharaj? Yes, first.
Thank you for a very insightful class on the pastimes of Krishna and his marriages. One question. Srila Prabhupada wrote and completed and published his book called Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is basically the entire 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Long before he didn't finish the Bhagavatam, but he finished several chapters of the Bhagavatam of the 10th canto. So in other words, he gave us the 10th canto early on in the early 70s, and perhaps you can help us to understand why he would do this if, as you mentioned in the early part of the talk, that one should start from the beginning and work up for the purposes of purification. So obviously there seems to be a slight contradiction there, and there must be a good reason for it. Perhaps you could give us that.
My understanding is that he said, I don't have the exact quote, but what I recall is that he was concerned that he was already an elderly person, and he was concerned that he might not, although his plan was to successively translate and publish all of the cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam, starting from the first canto, which he took with him to the United States from India. He already had the first canto published, and then when he came here, he started working on the second canto and the third canto. That was his plan, to successively go through all, but there was some concern, either on his part or the part of his disciples, that who knows what may happen. So he wanted to give the essence of the 10th canto as soon as possible so the devotees would have that. And he composed that book, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in such a way that one would understand it properly, as if one had gone through the first 9 cantos. He wrote his book, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not simply, translating the verses of the 10th canto, but adding philosophical explanations that put everything in the proper context as he saw it. That's my understanding.
That's mine also. Just one additional point. His chief concern was that there was a tremendous amount of possibility for misunderstanding and misinterpretation if he were not here to do that. So he wanted to avoid or prevent that from happening by giving the proper understanding, especially in the Rasa Leela dance and activities along that line. And he actually gives it as a warning, many warnings there for all of us.
Yeah, I think as a perfect acharya, spiritual master, he was making proper arrangements. Just like a responsible father or mother, head of a family, will make proper arrangements for things to go on in their absence. So Srila Prabhupada did that, and we're very grateful. Okay, we've gone a little bit over time, so I'm going to stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.